Well, after 2 years of ignoring or even denying or facilitating, however you want to look at it, the effects of the Biden administration's border crisis, some Democrats now acknowledge the issue as the disaster hits close to home. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is the latest Democrat to accept that in President Biden's America, every community is a border community. Now, I'll tell you, I don't feel very sympathetic, given that New York declared itself as a sanctuary city when it could, just use that as virtue signaling. But now that you've got border states actually putting people onto buses and sending them to the cities, they're crying, oh, we need more money. We need more money. He says the crisis has already cost his city $1 billion. Well, here with me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Matt Rosendale. He's a member of the House Border Security Caucus, the House Freedom Caucus, the Veterans Affairs Committee, and the Committee on Natural Resources. He represents the 2nd Congressional District of Montana. Congressman Rosendale, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me on tonight, Tony.
So I want to get your thoughts on these blue sanctuary cities waking up to the border crisis now that it's hit their own front lawn.
Yeah, it's a shame that that's what it takes. The pain and suffering that people have been experiencing all throughout the southern region and the southern states, and not to mention the millions of people that, quite frankly, are suffering as they try to find their way to the United States. It's costing our taxpayers $150 billion a year. Now, the cities that are starting to have this same economic impact pushed upon them are starting to recognize, yes, there is a problem. I think the folks at Martha's Vineyard figured that out last summer when they had just one busload of illegals sent up there. But it took New York City just a while longer to figure this out. And if we can finally get them to recognize that there is a problem, then maybe we can get the Senate Democrats to pass the immigration bill and the Southern Border Security bill that the House passed just a week ago and sent over to them.
Yeah, they keep saying this is Congress's fault. The Congress won't act. Well, Congress has acted. The House has acted. It's passed a bill. It's waiting for Schumer to take it up. But this really, when you talk about illegal immigration, you talk about those coming across the border, whether it's the catch and release or the gotaways, whatever it is. We've had about 4.5 million people under the Biden administration have come into the country. That's just a tip. That's just the tip of the iceberg when you look at all of the other issues with the drugs, with the terrorists, with others that have come in that seek to do harm to this country.
Yeah, and there's 4 to 5 million that have come in that have had encounters with some type of law enforcement. The scary part are the 1.5 million people that snuck into our country under the dark of night, wearing camouflage and ghillie suits from head to toe and carpet shoes so that they can't be tracked. Just how bad of a criminal do you have to be, or a terrorist do you have to be to come sneaking into our country when it's been demonstrated that all you have to do is show up at Eagle Pass and the folks will let you come across the river. You will be admitted into our country. You'll be given a hearing date sometime into the distant future, 7, 8 years. You'll be given clean clothes, a cell phone, and some living money and sent on your way. We've got a major problem here, Tony. We don't know who's coming into the country, where they're settling. And when I think about, quite frankly, the 85,000 children that have come into our country, the unaccompanied children that had been lost track of, it horrifies me to think of the conditions that they possibly have been thrust into, sold into, and have been distributed possibly not only around our country, but around the world. And that is not humane. That is not compassionate.
Matt, a recent Harvard-Harris poll actually conducted last week shows that 68% of Americans, including 73% of swing voters, independents, once the problem is explained to them, they want stricter border policies. The media is not telling them the significance of the problem. And of course, the administration is downplaying. But when you tell them the information we just talked about, that over 2.75 million came into the United States illegally over the last 12-month period, and more than 1.2 million have crossed since then, they realize we got a problem on our border and we have to fix it.
We have to, and the things that it takes to fix it, Tony, are not theoretical. We know what to do. We know that by completing the border wall security system, the sensing devices, the cameras, the lighting, the road that would parallel the wall, that would be a huge, huge help. We know that by implementing the stricter standards on asylum and making sure that people really do have a threat to their lives, and that's why they're fleeing, and they're only coming across one border in order to gain that asylum status. We know that by making them wait in Mexico to get their hearing date, most of the folks return back. 75% of the people that came up and claimed asylum status while President Trump was in office, while they had to wait in Mexico, 75% of
Right.
them went back to their country of origin. So not only are you
Right.
sending back the ones that came here, but you slow down the flow of people that are fleeing, trying to
Right.
get into our country dramatically.
I saw that with my own eyes. You're absolutely right. And again, the House of Representatives, led by the Republicans, have passed a bill to address these issues. It's waiting for the Senate to do something with it.
All we have to do is get the Senate back to work, same as we do on the debt ceiling.
All right. Congressman Matt Rosendale, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Tony.